Hi guys, I've got another few pages for my December album here today. I'm starting with this really large photo. So that's two 8x6 page protectors. So what does that make it? That makes it a 12x8 photo that I've split into two, so I'm going to put it across two full page protectors. And I'm just going to really simply embellish this photo. There was sort of a lot of, well, not blank space because it's all trees and stuff, but it didn't have any action in it up the top left-hand corner here. So I'm adding a few different banners. So I cut the first ribbony one. I think there was some packaging from Citrus Twist. I loved the colour of it. It went really nicely with the blues in the photos. And I'm also going to add a wood veneer banner and also one of these stickers, the silver ones, because there is silver in the tree on the right hand side. So the ribbon and the sticker I'm just stitching down to the top. I didn't want to glue the ribbon because I thought it would show through, so the sticker sort of sticks one side of it down and then the ribbon attaches it to the top. And I'm just attempting here to cut the wood veneer with my scissors so that it's straight across the top, and it didn't work too badly. I was worried it was going to split it, that's why I didn't stick it down first, and then I can stick that down. Now I've just typed out a little bit of journaling just on some scrap paper on my typewriter. And it turns out, although it's such a small amount of journaling, it was still more than what I had wanted. I was just going to add the little strips of journaling up here on top of the banners, but I've ended up with 5 strips. And if I add all 5 of them to the top corner, it's pretty much going to cover up all the banners and just look really messy. So, I mean, you can see what I mean there. It's just not going to look that great. So my choice was to either not have these last 2 sentences or move them somewhere else, which is what I decided to do because they really are important to the story, I guess. My story for this photo is that our plans for the day didn't quite work out the way we had thought they would. And so we found ourselves in this really beautiful park for most of the afternoon, and it wasn't what we had planned to do, but it was so nice to just sit in the shade, in the sun, watching the people and the dogs and the Christmas lights, and it was just really nice. So those sentences were important to the story, so they got glued down on the bottom right hand corner there. So it'll draw your eye across the page. And then of course it is Christmas, so I do need to add just a tiny bit of sparkle. So I've got this sequin mix from the Stamp Spot, and I'm just very carefully picking out just a few little sequins to put at both the top and bottom, again to tie the 2 pages together. So I really loved the colours of those sequins. I thought they went really nicely with the photo. So I am going to just stick those down with a little bit of multi-matte medium. I'm just using my tweezers to make that easier to do it. So the sequins are all in the same colour as my photos, the blues, teals and greens, and I've got a little white one up the top too. So once those dry, I can pop them in the page protectors, and that is that really simple page all done. For my next page, I've got a photo of myself that I edited in a colour story, and I've also got one of my printables from my December Dreams kit. Now this one was one I had already sort of embellished with some little bits of washi tape and some different stickers and enamel dots. And I'm going to use it as is, except I'm going to peel off that teal washi tape because that didn't really work with my story. But apart from that, I'm going to leave it as is. And in this pocket up the top, I'm going to leave it clear, but I want to add just a little bit of journaling. So I've got some scrap paper, and I have just punched a circle as a template, and I'm just going to use my pencil to draw that out on my scrap paper so that I've got an idea of where I want to type in there. It's a little bit tighter than I had wanted it to be, but because I wasn't going to do it digitally on my computer, I just am embracing the imperfectness of it. And then to put that in the pocket, I didn't really want to staple it in or anything like that, so I've just grabbed a spare page protector and I'm trimming down a piece that's just slightly smaller than 3x4, and I'm going to adhere that circle onto there. And then once this is all finished, I can just slip that into the pocket, and I'll be able to pull that out and put something on the back side of it when I'm finished. So to tie these 2 cards together, I'm going to add another one of these puffy circle stickers. Just finding the right one in the same colours as the ones I've used below. And then I really wanted to add a bit more of the other colours from the bottom cards, so some pink and some teal. So I did have these little pink enamel dots, so I'm going to add one of those. And then none of the enamel dots on this sheet had that sort of tealy colour, and I know I used up my entire sheet of teal ones on the bottom when I did that. So I just went through my stash and found one that was similar. It's not going to sit next to it, so it doesn't need to be exactly the same. It just brings that teal up from the bottom. Then I can slip all of these little cards in their pockets, and I thought I was all done, but what I decided was it was just a little bit plainer than I wanted it to be, so I had decided I was going to add some trim. And my first thought was white, and then I wondered about maybe some red trim, but it just, it's quite a light page, and I felt like the red kind of overwhelmed it a little bit. So I am just going to stitch this white pom-pom trim on with my sewing machine, and then I can just trim it down to the height of the page protector and trim off the little threads, and now this page is all done. I love that see-through pocket, and it's going to be really easy to cover up the back side of that as well. Now my last page for today has a photo of me and my husband, and this card that I had already made, just a plain 3x4 piece of paper, and I had grabbed a chipboard frame, bunched up some ribbon underneath it, and stamped a few stamps from the Kelly Stamps release from November. And I wasn't sure what to put at the top. I had printed out a few cards and wondered about them, but because I've already sort of stamped some text onto that frame, I went through my stash and found the other piece of the buffalo plaid paper that I had used, and I'm going to add that on. I do want to do some journaling on there though, so I was a bit stuck on how I was going to do that, and I wondered about maybe trimming down this printable card from Inner Creative Bubble. But it just, again, it looked too busy with that frame that's already there. So this is actually going to be the back side of a page protector, which is why I am trying to force what is clearly 2 4x6 slots into 4 3x4 slots. So that's why it's a little bit awkward. In the end, I decided I'm going to type my journaling on some vellum, and I will run the vellum across both cards, so it looks like the vellum's coming out from underneath the frame. So at the moment I'm just using some really light pencil marks to work out where I want my journaling to be, because again I'm just going to type it out on my typewriter. So I'm just creating a little pencil mark so that I know where to type. So now I've done my typing and erased my pencil marks, and I can see that it's going to fit, it's going to work the way I want it to work. It's a little bit harder to read on screen here than it is in real life, as tends to be always the case. So never fear, you can actually read the journaling in my actual album. So I'm just trimming down those 2 plaid pieces to make sure that they're the right size to fit in the pockets, because I don't want to have to do that later. And same with my photo, just splitting that into the 2 3x4s. Now to attach my vellum, I'm going to use a little bit of just multi-matte medium, just the very tiniest little bit amount, just a little bit down the left hand side of it, and I'm going to try really hard to sort of fit that underneath the chipboard frame as much as I can. The chipboard frame is reasonably stuck down to that 3x4 paper, so it does make it a little bit harder, and the glue did sort of squirt out a little bit from underneath it, but actually once it dried you could hardly see it, so I would again recommend that multi-matte medium for attaching to vellum as well. Now I am going to have to just move that 3x4 card over a little bit so that my typing's centered in it, and the way I'm going to hide how I glue the vellum down onto the second card is with some sequins. So I've got this sequin mix from the Stamp Spot, and it's got these really huge red sequins in it, which of course the colour went really well with my photo, and also it's big enough that it's going to hide the glue. So I've got the 2 to hold down my vellum, and I want to add a third one, and I do mess about with where that goes, but I'm going to pop that on the bottom of my photo at the top just to draw the 2 things together. And then I'm going to use a little bit of the same multi-matte medium to stick the sequins onto the vellum and the photo. And then I'm just going to carefully lift up my vellum piece and add 2 tiny little dots of the same adhesive underneath where the sequins are. and then just carefully lay that down on top of my 3x4 paper. Now my suggestion would be to just leave this to dry as it is, but videoing, can't leave it for too long. So I'm just very carefully trimming those two cards out with the vellum, just being careful not to wiggle them around or move them at all. Once those sequins are dry, then I can add them into the pocket and call this page done. How's your December album going? I am so enjoying this project. It really is one of my favourites of the year. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye!